I'm honored and happy to be here today and share this experience with all of you. Um, and so we're going to get started because we're going to try to beat the rain. It's because, sugar melts in water, and I don't want to melt. So right now, to get things started, I'm going to sing the Star Spangled Banner. Let's give it up for Millennia.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you. I'm trying to get them to cut off the music on the main stage. I never heard the Star Spangled Banner with a backbeat before. So, so at this time, we're going to have a couple of speeches, and we're going to welcome the stage at this time. Ms. Cassandra, you can come up and say a few words. How are you doing?
Ladies, gentlemen, distinguished guests, and fellow service members. Today we gather at the sacred place of remembrance to commemorate our Pride celebration and honor the brave individuals who have served the armed forces while also being part of the LGBTQ plus community. It's a privilege to stand before you today and share my journey as a member of the United States Army and an advocate for equality. In 1985, I embarked on a life-changing path as a U.S. Army national soldier. I vividly recall the days of my basic training and advanced individual training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. The rigorous physical and mental challenges, the camaraderie built among fellow soldiers, and the unwavering commitment to serving our great nation became the foundation of my military career. But today, as we assemble here to honor the memory of those who served and made the ultimate sacrifice, we must also acknowledge the unique struggles and sacrifices faced by the LGBTQ plus service members throughout history. For far too long, those who identified as LGBTQ plus were forced to hide their true selves, living in fear of being discovered and facing discrimination within the ranks. Yet despite these challenges, LGBTQ plus service members have stood shoulder to shoulder with their comrades, demonstrating unwavering dedication, courage, and resilience. In the face of adversity, LGBTQ plus service members embody the values that define our armed forces: honor, integrity, and selfless service. They have proven time and again that their sexual orientation or gender identity does not diminish the commitment to the mission or their ability to serve with distinction. Today, as we lay this wreath in honor of our fallen heroes, let it symbolize our gratitude for all those who have fought for the freedom and equality we enjoy today. Let it remind us of the sacrifices made by LGBTQ plus service members who have given their lives in service to our country, yet too often remained invisible or unrecognized. let us also remember that our fight for equality is not over. We must continue to advocate for a military that embraces diversity and inclusion, where every service member can serve openly and authentically without fear of discrimination or prejudice. As we reflect on our progress, let us not forget those whose voices were silenced, whose stories were untold. Let us honor their memory by creating a future where every service member, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity, can proudly serve and be celebrated for their contributions. In conclusion, let us remember the words of Harvey Milk, a pioneer in LGBTQ+ rights. Hope will never be silent. As we stand here today, let us carry that hope in our hearts and continue our journey towards a more inclusive and accepting military. Together, we can create a legacy of equality that will inspire future generations. Thank you, and may you never forget the sacrifices and accomplishments of all those who served in uniform, proudly representing both their country and the LGBTQ+ community.
Thank you for those words. I didn't say her name before, and I apologize because I always call her Cassie. That's Cassandra Nicole Counts. All right. So now it's my great honor and pleasure, next to the podium is a gentleman who actually started this wreath-laying ceremony, was 12 years ago? 2013. He is the reason that we're standing here today. And when he left the board, I promised him that I would carry on this tradition. So here is the originator of our wreath-laying ceremony. Let's hear it for Stephen Seigler.
Thank you. I'm humbled to stand here while this is still continuing. I'm glad the Pride Board is continuing to do this. Thank you, Jordan, for doing that. I want to give a special thanks to Mark Stridlove and the History Museum for partnering with Pride in continuing this really honorable tradition. I want to also thank Jordan, Felicia, and the Pride Board for continuing this wreath laying here at the Cenotaph at the Soldiers Memorial as well. I served my country proudly for 20 plus years, retiring with the Air Force. And when I did that, a couple years later, I joined the LGBT Center down in, I guess it was in Manchester. And the idea came to me to create something since the Pride was going to be downtown. So I created this ceremony, and I did a lot of stuff. I raised a lot of money, and I lit the whole memorial, the whole top of it in Pride colors, if anybody remembers that. And the columns were all lit too at one point. So it really took on a life of its own kind of thing for a while. To kind of go back a little bit, when I went to basic training, when I joined the Air Force, on my sign-in sheet, it asked me if I did drugs and if I was a homosexual. And I put no for drugs and no for homosexual because at the time, and still, I will not let anybody tell me what I can and cannot do, put a limit on me based on my sexual orientation or whatever. I don't agree with that, so I lied on that form. And while I was in basic training, my TI came up to me 3 weeks into it, dismissed everybody out of the day room, and walked up and said, "You're a faggot, aren't you?" And I said, "Sir, no, sir." And he goes, "You are. And if I see you looking at any of my men, I'm going to have you out of here so fast you won't know what hit you." It startled me. I mean, I couldn't go back to where I came from because I was in a box. I mean, people called me a sissy, and it was just, I couldn't escape that. And so my bunkmate asked me what he had said, what we talked about, and I said, all I said to him was I had to do better. And I did. I went through my entire military career with honors, made my parents proud, made myself proud. I grew into who I was supposed to be because I left everything I knew so that I could grow into who I was supposed to be. And the ceremony, I created the ceremony honoring everybody who served in silence. And every time I do a speech, I always talk about that, about the people who served in silence and died for a country that at that time didn't even accept them. But they had to accept the country and all of its values and stuff like that. So I created this ceremony, And to have the people walk down the stairs carrying each branch flag, I called all the recruiting stations in St. Louis and got one member of each branch to carry the flags down the stairs with music. And they posted the flags in front of everybody. That was a first for the United States, that type of thing. We in the military, we serve our country so that everyone can enjoy the same rights. We don't serve it just for the white male or one specific race or their specific belief system. We serve it for everybody and everything. We're all inclusive. That's what we serve this country for. And I usually follow it up by saying this to people: if you don't agree with that, I've got a list of countries you can go to that supports your ideology. In this country, that's not allowed. And so anyway, the whole premise behind this wreath-laying ceremony is to honor past, present, and future LGBT members and anybody who's marginalized or anybody who feels like their voice isn't heard. Just remember, you live in a country where your voice will be heard. And if they can't hear you, you scream it. Like right now, we're faced with possibly, turning back the tables a little bit. Just remember, your voice counts, your vote counts, and and like I said, if you need to scream your choice and your strength, do that. Because you got to be heard. We're in this country together. That's what we serve this country for, the military, all inclusive. And so that's why I created this whole wreath-laying ceremony back in 2013, and I'm proud of the fact that it's continuing from the Pride Board and the History Museum. Excuse me 1 second, my phone went out. I also want to remind you of this: never get comfortable with your freedoms. In a minute, they could be taken away. In a minute, or a vote, they could be taken away. So always be vigilant with your right to speak and your right to act and your right to be who you are in this country. Never get complacent with that, because in a voting term, the whole thing could be turned around, and everybody could lose whatever they were fighting for. So I just want to remind people of that. It's very delicate, this democracy. And so in closing, I just want to say I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to have served my country, and I'm proud of the fact that I did this ceremony for everyone who served in silence. I'm their voice now. You're their voice now. We're all part of this now. And be proud of who you are. You're an American. I don't care what you believe in, what your color is, whatever. We're Americans. We are all in this together. We all have something to give. We all do. So anyway, it makes me proud to be an American. I'm proud to serve this country with citizens like this. Now, before any more time goes by, I think it's time for us to honor these brave men and women who fought and died in this country in silence. So Sergeant Jackson and I are going to place this wreath, and following that is going to be taps. And so it's a solemn moment. So if you want to render if you're military, salute. If you're a civilian, put your hand over your heart. But we're going to get this going now. And thank you all for being here.